Nigeria. It's a brand new day and we are here to bring you the stories that matter, the conversations that spark change and the smiles that start your day right. I am Henry Ikwibike and this is Enterprise Morning, brought to you by Enterprise Television, your companion for news, politics, current affairs and everything in between. And just to let you know, we're reaching you from the economic capital of Nigeria, Lagos. And right here in our studios, we have Barrister Vansu Feli, journalist, public affairs analyst, to see through all that we have. Good morning to you, Barrister.
Good morning.
Thank you so very much for your time.
Except that I don't usually accept the title as a journalist.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Barrister Vansu Feli, Barrister Law Public Affairs Analyst. My bad, yo.
Although I did a training in journalism, I prefer.
You prefer being the barrister that you are. Thank you so very much.
Yes.
Yeah, so Barrister Vansu Feli is the Barrister Law Public Affairs Analyst, and he is joining us right here from our headquarters in Lagos, Nigeria. And just to let you know, you can always reach us if you may. You can find us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally watch and equally follow us if you want to at Enterprise TV 7. We'll start off right now with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation. So let's kickstart today with the first daily on our desk, and this is coming from the Vanguard newspaper. And we have so many interesting stories here. Debt burden, no sin in borrowing, and that's coming from Bayo Onanuga, representing the presidency. Federal FG gas-powered vehicle scheme runs into major hitch nationwide. 785.6 billion naira investment threatened. And also, APC primaries, Amaechi gave Tinubu dose of his own medicine. And that's coming from the Nobel Laureate Soyinka. Barrister, let's take a look at the federal government gas-powered vehicle scheme running into a major hitch nationwide. Now, I had the opportunity of going through the stories. When it started, it looked like an awesome thing for Nigeria, an alternative to PMS. Yeah. But right now, it is becoming like the good old days of PMS huddle that Nigerians faced back in the day. So is this but a waste of time, waste of resources, and waste of conversion for Nigerians who had done that?
Well, you know, when this thing started, I said it on, are we really ready for this? Okay, because we are good at jumping at things when we have not really thought out the possibility and workability. The peculiarity of the Nigerian environment, the atmospheric difference with every other places that have worked, and all that. We didn't think about that. We just felt, this is the new wave. This is where the world is going. We're not even considering the gas, the CNG, based on the fact that it's environmental friendly. We're looking at it from the standpoint of economy. That is more economical, it's cheaper, and all that. And at the end of the day, we seem not to be at top gear with the supplies. Okay, so I mean, those who have converted, I don't know where they are right now.
In fact, they said those who have converted are reconverting back to PMS.
They're converting to PMS because it's not well thought out. Okay, if I convert now, will I enjoy will it be valuable to me, given our environment, reliability of the roads, okay, the workability of the plan itself, how committed is the government to it, what is, because anything you're doing, that you cannot easily find the technicians, okay, who will address the after conversion, because you need to, if you have issues, you need to find people who can put it to order. You need to be able to use it fluidly, like you can assess everything that comes with it, because definitely a lot of responsibility will come with it.
Because the deficit of value chain is what has been experienced now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We didn't really work this through, okay, whether it's a viable option for us. Not every option you jump at. Okay, even the cost effectiveness, really, is it really cost effective in the long run? So those are the things that were not properly checked at all, and people are going back to where they were before they converted. And it's unfortunate because policies like this need to be well thought out. The bosses are no longer seeing them at all. I mean, that's the what do you call the big bosses?
The CNG bosses.
The CNG bosses. I'm not seeing them again. The policy, I don't know where it stands. I don't know which ministry is actually, is it the Ministry of Transport?
Yeah, Ministry of Transport.
I don't know how viable are they with it and the rest of that. So the minister is not even communicating. Okay, when was the last time the minister addressed the nation on CNG? So those are the issues. The policy is not in our face. It's not sellable. It's not selling. We don't know whether it's a viable option or not. They just kept it open. People are confused. So it can't go far that way. If we prioritize it, perhaps we can make do of what it stands for. But there's no priority on it.
But as it stands now, do you think that Nigerians might still give this a second chance if it's possible? I went around town asking important questions. First off, gas stations right now, if you look at the queue in many gas stations, there are CNG vehicles hoping to get the CNG. So if you are on PMS, it's easy for you to get your product and go away.
Yes.
CNG, the queue is as long as those days when there used to be scarcity of PMS.
Yes.
Secondly, Nigerians who ply different roads through commercial buses are scared. According to my investigation, whenever they get into buses and they see those gas things, they're always very scared, like, hope this won't
catch fire.
Yeah, catch fire. So do you really think that just like President Bola Ahmed Tinubu impulsively takes up decisions, he has equally failed again? Should this be on record?
Well, yes. I think that the policy should have come with a caveat that if you already have petrol engine, there's no need, because that conversion itself will have technical glitches or effects. So you buy vehicles that are originally made for that purpose. Because this conversion thing, they take it to welders. The welders start to weld things and all that. And I don't really see it as a reliable option. So that is why when people come into a bus, they see all the tanks exposed and all that. And it's inflammable.
Yes, very well.
It's inflammable. So then you have, the pipes are not really protected. Yes. Okay. Unlike a vehicle that was originally built for that purpose. You have foams around the pipes. You have protection around it. Well, this one, they just give welders. Say, just do one like this. Do one like this. When you have all that exposed, I don't think it is safe. The cooking gas, even that we have in our homes, many of them are not even safe.
Exactly.
Let alone a machine that will be running throughout the day, in gallops, in water, and everything. So I don't think, just like these cars, they break down too, it could have effect. So it's a policy that should have worked if maybe the federal government had rolled out those buses and give it out maybe as hire purchase, or give it out as in low or credit facility to support purchase or whatsoever. There should have been a program. It's not just a policy. You bring a program under the policy that will make it accessible for people to that will prioritize safety. Okay, what we have now is asking people to convert to CNG. You don't have the conversion centers. You don't have the technical know-how. You don't have, even when you want people to convert, you should bring the experts that will do the conversion. You don't just ask people to go and convert at where. So those are the things.
Very
policies
true.
Should be robust. They should not be halfway. We leave they should make it robust.
And just like we equally, when all of this started, India, where the presidency got the ideas for CNG and all, it's very important that we state some facts here. That Tata, the auto manufacturing company that does all of that, just like you did say, Barrister, they incubate a car from the beginning knowing it is meant for CNG.
Yes.
They don't do the kind of conversion that we do now.
They don't do that.
They don't do that. So it's very important that just before we get policies right, we understand, the rudiments and how we can get it all sorted for sustainability. But let's take a look at other matters from the same newspaper. Debt burden, no sin in borrowing, and that's coming from Bayo Onanuga. A barrister, from an economic stance, it's often said that there's no sin in borrowing if you know where what you're borrowing would go to. In the case of Nigeria, do you think it should be said the same way.
There is sin in borrowing.
There's sin in borrowing.
Yes, especially when you are borrowing for consumption. The last letter the president sent to the National Assembly is requesting for that amount of money to pay pensioners. That's a sin, because that fund is for consumption. It's not for any kind of development, any project whatsoever. It's to offset debt. You are taking a loan to offset a debt. You understand? So when they say the president have done that, I look and I laugh. You see, you borrow from OPay, PalmPay, and use Money Point to pay PalmPay, and use PalmPay to pay, with due respect to the brands mentioned, even though it's for their this thing, we're promoting them technically. But that's not what to do. That's not what you're supposed to do. Okay? We can actually generate this money from within.
That's taxing.
Yes.
Tax?
Tax? Of course, tax. I mean, we have companies all over the place. We have people bringing in goods from MP and the rest of people bringing in goods. We have a lot of means of, we are selling crude oil. Okay? We can prioritize how to pay in the budget itself. Okay? Even though it's there, but it is there on deficit. Because we are running a deficit budget. When you're running a budget you're actually spending more than you can earn. You're running a deficit budget. That's what it means. Okay, so everything is in deficit. But I think that we shouldn't borrow to offset, because we shouldn't borrow to spend in terms of consumption.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're owing the pensioners. That's negative already, deficit. Then we're going to borrow to offset it. So the loan is still there. The loan is still hanging. Yes, it's still hanging. Whichever way you look at it, you don't borrow to offset the loan.
So pragmatically, with the dire strait we are in Nigeria, what do you think then is the best way to do about it? Because we do not have the money domiciled anywhere, and we need to take care of pensioners if they are. So how best do we get this money realistically, pay the pensioners, and maybe not have any reason to take the brunt?
We should have generated the money from within to pay them. Yes. The federal government have enough streams of income. Enough streams of income. The CBN regulates the bank. The institutions of the federal government, the revenue generated ones are there, okay, to do the needful. Okay, so that's what I think, because this thing that will pay our debt today and borrow higher than what we just offset tomorrow, it's not a policy forward movement. It's not forward movement policy, because at the end of the day, the loan is still there. Let's just look for a way to minimize borrowing, okay, or minimize taking loans, because we can actually do it if we are disciplined. The money the president wasted on the private jet, wasted on the National Assembly, wasted on the office of the First Lady, and that he wasted on this coup something trip they went for environmental whatever, all those funds put together could have done well. The money he wasted on his convoy could have paid pensioners. The monies recovered by EFCC could have been put into use. The funds that that we are recovering from Abacha loot and the rest of that, we're not told where these monies are going to. They could have offset, they could take care of some of these things. There's so much money flying around, and we're taking loan in the midst of that. So you ask yourself, all these funds, where is it going to? Okay, where is it going to? Just not up to 1 week, the National Assembly padded the budget by almost 70 trillion. 6 trillion, right? Yeah. Padded the budget 6 trillion and all that. Well, that money is going to go through, where is it going through? And we're expected to enforce that budget through borrowing, okay? Because what we have as liquid is not up to what government intends to spend. When you look at our production capacity per day, you calculate it by the number of months in the year. What we have cannot deliver that budget.
Okay.
So we're going to borrow to really spend to enforce the budget. And if we have to do that, we're taking loans upon loans upon loans. We're owing already. So let's minimize pensioners. I mean, pensioners, how much is the money that cannot be generated within? Because this thing about quick loan, this money has to be paid.
Definitely. Definitely.
This
Because some development economics pundits have concluded there are two ways any nation can generate money, either to tax its people or to stimulate production in the economy. And it's been stated that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is, of course, not stimulating the economy.
It's not stimulating the economy.
He is taxing the people. And Nigerians can still see what the money is used for at the end of the day. You know, every time the Nigerian Port Authority declares a profit, how much they have made, but it's been concluded that most of those money are made through importation. So it's like we are taking from ourselves to take care of ourselves, and it's still not enough, and it's really
the
a very difficult thing.
The money that was saved from the removal of subsidy,
7 trillion actually.
so where is the money? Can't you use part of it to offset pensioners? How many pensioners are we talking about, or how much is the money? So sometimes they don't really tell us what they are doing with this money, because when you say you want to pay pensioners, it sounds very empathetic, and then people will not want to contest it because it sounds very empathetic.
Yeah.
But are you really sure they are going to use it to take care of pensioners in the long run? That's where my question is, my argument is, because I mean, it's difficult to believe this government, because the repeated lies they've told Nigerians over time is worrisome. So to not believe that they're going to take care of pensioners, are they saying with this they will not be owing pensioners again for life and the rest of that? So this government should be sincere with Nigerians. They claim to have won the election. They claim that it's a government of renewed hope. But you know, we are seeing it as hoping against hope. Okay? Because the reservoir where you store hope is almost empty in Nigeria. People are not finding it funny any longer. So how long are you going to hope against hope? Where is the renewed hope?
Where is the renewed hope? The president has said that we should cut him some slack, that he met a dried well. And what he's trying to do right now is to dig deep into that well and see if there could be water anywhere. But let's take a look at what's happening from the Guardian newspaper. 2027 opposition coalition shops for candidates as APC mocks the effort. Economy not in crisis, says the presidency, as Afenifere rates Tinubu very, very low. ECOWAS at 50, a legacy at a crossroad. Barrister, let's take a look at two stories here, if we may. I'll love to start with ECOWAS at 50, a legacy at a crossroad. General Yakubu Gowon, I love to believe, is the only living president or leader that was there in 1975 when ECOWAS started. Right now, the Sahel states are off that block, and we don't have an ECOWAS that looks like the ECOWAS we used to know before. With President Bola Ahmed Tinubu dining with Macron, with French, while the nations that are upset with France really, are really not excited. How do you think a president can galvanize the bloc once more, knowing that he has interest with the oppressor of some of the states that make up the bloc?
The ECOWAS chairman, that's the president of Nigeria, has failed to work in the right optics. Okay, you are not just the president of Nigeria. The fact that Nigeria is in good terms with France, you should know that you are on a bigger platform other than just the president of Nigeria. You are the chairman of ECOWAS. ECOWAS used to have 15 countries, okay, founded in 1975, with the objective to liberalize trade and economic activities within the African coast, the West African coast. Okay. And while doing that, promoting democratic governance. That's the objective. Okay. Now, because of the kind of democracy that the member states have witnessed in Africa, where you have a president that has been there for 40 years plus. The people's life have not changed as a result of any policy from ECOWAS. They are just members by default. Nothing is moving forward in their country. ECOWAS is asking and demanding for democratic governance, even when democracy is failing in all the countries, all member states. Okay, they keep preaching, democracy. Now the military struck in some of these countries. The countries are now witnessing, a sort of progress, unquote, a sort of forward movement. Okay, the people also, these guys came together, the likes of Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and the rest of them came together and created a Sahel state. Okay, purposely to create a new outlook in what governance should be in their various countries. Okay, so that the people can actually assess governance. Because the one that was given to them, which ECOWAS acknowledges and approves, is not doing well. So they had to jettison ECOWAS. I mean, look at the French colonies. With their policy of assimilation, policy of association and assimilation, in their colonial, which they pass on after their colonial, because the colonial effort of the French policy is that even after colonialism, you are still colonized. You understand? The central bank of many of their colonies is still in France. Okay? They change language, culture, food, everything. You turn, that's what the process is. So at the end of the day, many of those countries in the Francophone hemisphere even lost their native languages. They speak French because of how intense. The British colonial effort or rule didn't exterminate the African culture. It only introduced its own to add to. You understand? But that of French, their policy of assimilation is to acculturate the people, pull them out of their identity completely, define a new order for them, and bring them up to speed with that reality. That even when colonialism has ended, these people are still tied to the apron spring of France, their master. Sometimes they won't open the borders for them to come in, and the rest of that. You can see that in their footballers and all these things you see. But the end game is exploitation. You understand? Is to extract, imperialism is the idea. But that imperialism is one that is presented in a way that you see yourself as them. But in the long run, they are not really who you think you are. So the Sahel state, those states now understand this subtle way of exploitation. And I've now decided that no, there are people should benefit from their own mineral resources and natural resources directly. And this, with due respect to them, this state governed by military rule, they are doing well. They are doing well. We can see the handwriting on the wall. What democracy could not do. And who says that democracy must be the only kind of government that there are many countries that are not practicing democracy. China does not practice democracy. The Arab Emirates don't practice democracy. Some other countries of the world don't practice democracy. Democracy is not the only system of government. If you ask me, I won't think that democracy is not a good system of government because it promises a lot and delivers nothing. At least the way it's practiced in Africa. Okay? So there should be other system of government that should be explored. Maybe the ones not invented yet. Maybe the ones, the monarchy, in some places oligarchy works. The rich are very rich, conservative, but they still allow the poor to have, as much as they could enjoy from the commonwealth of the nation. So ECOWAS is not doing well. 50 years after, it's at a crossroad. You cannot compare ECOWAS with UN, for example, United Nations. The League of Nations failed after the First World War. After the First World War, the League of Nations was created to avert the coming of another war. Okay, the League of Nations was like ECOWAS then. It couldn't really spread its tentacles to handle world affairs effectively. So the Second World War broke out and League of Nations collapsed. Okay, it was after the Second World War, okay, that you now have the establishment of the United Nations. Then it was called UNO, United Nations Organization, then, before it became UN. Today, we can see the efforts that United Nations is putting to end war and to entrench global peace. It's quite remarkable. The United Nations have not only succeeded in bringing the tension of world conflict down, it has also succeeded in peacekeeping in so many countries of the world. It has succeeded in building a global brand, and it has succeeded in developing branches to handle different areas of like UNESCO, UNO, okay, World Health Organization, some of the sub organizations are created under the UN to handle very sensitive affairs like education, health, and the rest of that. So it has made strides. So I don't know why ECOWAS cannot pick a lesson from a UN, for example.
Can we blame that on the cultural protectionism of Africans? We love our own, we love ourselves, you know, that, so that makes it difficult for us to want to partner with people
with other African
in unison.
countries.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Like the EU has done. Yes. You know, they came together, got the same currency, yes, and they're competing.
Do you know that the ECO, that's the currency for the ECOWAS, yes, is still in dispute today. Okay. In our African Bar Conference, I was a speaker in the last one. All the topics are tied around how how you can move away from here to Ghana and be able to spend the money you have with you without engaging in foreign exchange. Even in Ghana, you don't even hear about their own cities. You hear dollar everywhere. Yeah. You understand? When you move from there, I've been to Ghana, to Zimbabwe, to Zambia, to Kenya, to Rwanda, and the rest of that. You keep seeing different. In fact, the East Africa, they ask you for a visa. You get to the airport, they stamp you 90 days in. Okay, the visa regime is one of the most devastating thing about the African hemisphere. You cannot. Why can't Africa host the World Cup? If we have rails, and we have visa-free, environment, we'll trade better, we'll flourish better, we can do things better off. You understand? We're able to even in the I'm going to watch the coming World Cup in Atlanta. Now, I can move from Atlanta into Mexico. I can move from Mexico to all the cities where because it's not taking place in just one place. Yes. But if it's in Africa, they have to require a visa for you to move from west to east. Okay. Then if you're even going to a place like South Africa, that one there's not like stamping in. You have to go to the embassy here to get their visa on your passport before you start to go to another country, so that you can easily fly from there into South Africa. But
what do you have to say about, because I listened to the speeches that was given during your African Bar conference meeting. Your very good friend Liberals said something that really struck. He said the reason why would other African countries that are doing better allow for a mass exodus of people from another place into their place, right? Knowing that they've made those places better, why not the other African brother take care of themselves and be comfortable, rather than bring the whole of themselves to populate an African country that's already doing better?
Yes, that's one of the fear. If you look at the what do you call it? There's a program that we have, the current policy on African trade. Okay. Part of the reason Nigeria is food dragging, okay, is because there are so many African countries that their citizens are displaced. Like talking about a country like Central African Republic, for example, Somalia.
Niger here,
Niger.
if you give them the opportunity, they all come into Nigeria.
And if they enter here, they overrun everyone. They are much.
Yes.
They are very much. Already, you can see the inconveniences, even in Lagos. When you go through Oshodi and the rest of that, they are begging you, you could see all that. So, that is a big problem. It's a big problem because the exodus and the movement is not for leisure. It's not for economic boom.
Like it said in other nations in America, Europe,
where people are moving.
Moving is for luxury.
It's for luxury, and the country they are moving to, they are getting revenue.
Yes.
They are getting, because once they move in, they go to hotels. Yes. Okay, they go to seasides and they pay. They go to Badagry. They pay. These ones that are coming with survival, they are hungry while they are coming in. Yeah. So it's nuisance. Yes. So that's part of the problem. But should we say because of that we should not liberalize our borders for Africa? Should we say also, can we have an OAU, for example, that is called AU now? Because AU, with due respect to them, they are not different from ECOWAS.
Yeah, very true.
I'm just telling you. You know, because the AU that is supposed to take care of this issue we're talking about, displaced people, war, devastation, climate, whatever, and all that, they are missing in action in all these things we are discussing. They are missing in action. So how will even ECOWAS do well? ECOWAS is just a section.
Yes, it's a subset of
the AU, okay? And the parent body is not doing well. So, I mean, the other one is as well as they are not doing well. And the reason they don't do well is because there's no common vision. There's no common vision. Africa does not have a vision where it's going to. That is why it's a dumping ground. That was even why it was easy in the Berlin conference for them to sit down in Europe and say, you know what, you go here, you go here, you go here. Balkanize Africa in 1804, came in and took the Royal Nigeria came in to extract. Lord Lugard came in to extract. The British government came in to extract. Okay, claiming that they are bringing civilization, which they did. Okay, Western education. Okay, but it's not commensurate to what they took, because they brought even the current violence that we face. They brought the Bible, they brought the guns, they brought both the positive and the negative and dumped on us. And Chino Achebe explained it very well, that when the white men came, we banished them from our clan and sent them to the evil forest. We were amazed at their foolishness. Okay. When they were reading from more, they were amazed at their foolishness. But today, the white man is very wise. They have turned everything around. It has cut off the rope that put us together. Things are falling apart. Okay? So, the problem in Africa is much. You can't exhaust this in one show. Okay? But the conversation is ongoing. The conversation is ongoing too. And things are changing gradually, because some of these recommendations are being passed. A country like South Africa, for example, don't even want to see Nigerians who are even comfortable. Yeah. Let alone countries like Niger and the rest of them are displaced. So there's a lot of reorientation that we need to take care of. Okay. Ramaphosa is talking to Trump, wants Trump to attend. Trump is saying, you are killing white people. Your people are killing white people. Government does nothing about it. I feel that he should be going around Africa.
Who exactly?
Ramaphosa.
Okay.
He should be going around Africa. That's the president of
South Africa.
South Africa. He should be going around African country to create an harmony, So instead of going to the president of the US just because you want him to attend, whereas it is a problem on ground, the xenophobic tendency of the South Africans, the lack of tolerance of the Nigerian states over other African countries, and the many wars that's ongoing in places like Somalia, in places like Central African Republic, in places like Congo, and the rest of them. Okay, there are African countries that really have good economy, but you can't see it and you can't know it because it's overshadowed by neighboring countries with devastation and the rest of that. So Africa must come of age someday and define really where it's heading to. A continent should have a place it's heading to. The AU should be formidable. ECOWAS should have foresight. Okay? There's no need for military regime. We should be able to resolve all that. Quench this Sahel something, because this Sahel state is an alternative in futility. You cannot use military regime to go forward. Even if you assume but not considering that you now have enough countries with military, how do you attend the United Nations and other global organizations as soldiers? Yes.
Because you won't be admitted.
You won't be admitted. You have an illegal government, so you cannot attend.
And when you don't attend, the benefits that should accrue to your nation would be given to someone else.
Someone else. The benefit, when Abacha killed Kensaro and 4 others, what happened? Even from Commonwealth of Nations were thrown out.
Yes.
Okay. The benefit that will come from UN, for the grants. Just now that Trump came in, that we're having problems. For some of us that are into the that have alliances with NGO and the rest of that, we know what it is to operate, as at the time Trump wasn't there. And then we'll know how we're able to reach out. Okay. Even the UN, programs, okay, the Sustainable Development Goals, you understand? Trump is working against it for Africans. Even when it's an established, backed up by a treaty. Okay? So we should enforce it and have it, The AU, for example, should have at least duplicated that Sustainable Development Goal. Because Africa need it more, even than the UN, where it's coming from. Africa need it more. Zero poverty, education. Those are the issues. Address out-of-school children. Implement the SDG goals. That is the way to go. They ask governors to do that in Nigeria. They're not doing it. They are not. So if you have, Peter Obi is the only one who
was able to adhere to the SDG goals
adhere to it
as a template to his governance.
And it reflected in the educational policy of the state at the time. Okay, so where are they now? The next governor ought to have consolidated on that. The one coming after, the one coming after. We should have things like that, but we seem not to be there. What is AU's program on the African hemisphere? What is the program that AU has? I'm asking.
And the question is, when they get together to have that sit-down meeting, what do they usually discuss?
What do they, what they discuss? What they discuss every time they gather? What they will talk about. All the leaders will be there, and they'll be talking about the visa regime, how that they should remove it. Those who have the capacity to remove, they are the ones seated there to remove all those restrictions. They are the ones seated there. They will be discussing it. At the end of the day, I mean, you need to attend some of these conferences that discuss Africa. It's about poverty, it's about disease, visa regime, lack of integration, the ECHO. Like the ECHO, that conversation now has been there for over 15 years. The conversation even started before that of the euro. The euro, they've achieved it already, and the euro is now stronger than their independent currency would have been. True. So why can't we do that and then see the issues of very poor African countries infiltrating other countries can be handled. It can be handled because the fact that you can move in freely does not mean there's no restriction. That's not what it means.
Okay.
The fact that you can move in freely, the fact that there's no visa regime, and all that does not mean you can just stroll in. Because you still have custom now.
Yes.
Your motive and agenda and everything must also be, in as much as there's no
question.
Yes, in as much as you don't need a visa to come in, it does not mean it's free for all. So why can't we have that, so that those who have the resources to come in and do business genuinely, to spend money, leisure, tourism and the rest of that, we put them in one class. Those who are coming in for survival and the rest of that, we know how to categorize them. We have camps, refugee camps, for those who want to seek asylum. Okay, we've had leaders come to Nigeria to seek Chancellor sought asylum here. So we can have a policy for that. Then the UN, through a charter, the AU, through a charter, can issue a universal one within the African sphere. And that can be used and localized by every country.
Very, very true, Barrister. We've often, said it here. There are no reasons for Africa not to be what it should be. Unfortunately, we have pockets of leaders who are not moving in sympathical to what Africa stands for. And I would love to believe other regions and continents around the world would envy and would earnestly desire to, if possible, come over to Africa. But of course, we have everything, but what we have is gross deficit of leaders to make those things happen. Thank you so very much, Barrister. And just to let you know, he will be here to take us on our main conversation. That is when we return. Amaechi's Defiance, Soyinka hails him for standing up to Tinubu in 2022 APC primaries. That in a bit. When we come back, it's still Enterprise Morning.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.
For being back, and this is still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get talking on our conversation for today. Nobel Laureate Wole Soyinka has praised the former Rivers State Governor Rotimi Amaechi for his boldness during the 2022 APC presidential primaries, where he refused to step down for Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Speaking at Amaechi's 60th birthday, Soyinka said he admired Amaechi's consistent fighting spirit and defiance, which he watched live from Abu Dhabi. He described Amaechi's stance as giving Tinubu a dose of his own medicine. Soyinka drew a parallel between Amaechi's resistance and Tinubu's past defiance during former President Obasanjo's failed third-term agenda. He recalled how Tinubu had stood alone against central pressure at the time and said it was satisfying to see Tinubu now on the receiving end of a similar challenge from Amaechi. According to Soyinka, while many aspirants have stepped down during the APC primaries, Amaechi stood firm and declared he didn't come to commit lúle, which of course is called a fail. Soyinka said his moment reflected true democratic spirit. In the final vote, Tinubu won with 1,271 votes. Amaechi came second with 316, and Obasanjo followed with 235. Let's get talking. I still have with me Barrister Evans Ofeli. Thank you so very much, Barrister,
very well,
for hanging on. I am very excited that we're doing this. Number one reason is because Wole Soyinka is someone you hold there.
Yes.
You truly admire him a lot. But given all of that, I would love to speak to the feigning ignorance of this great legend. Selective criticism on the part of this same great man who's been there for a very long time. At the late hours of his adventure, he is not, doing what Nigerians would have expected from him. You can see how much he said about Amaechi, but isn't it disturbing that this same legend isn't saying the same thing against the man of the moment, the president?
Yes, as at the time Tinubu was campaigning, Soyinka supported Tinubu, right? When he became the president and was doing the wrong things, policies somersaulted, subsidy gone, no alternative, the free fall of the naira, you know, the economy was in shambles. Journalists went back to Wole Soyinka to ask him questions. He said it was too early to speak. You know, that he needed time to assess, to see more of what Tinubu could do, whether I could bounce back, whether I could bring a solution, whether he has an idea somewhere that we're not aware of. 2 years after, nothing has changed really. Okay, so at this birthday, I think Soyinka must have seen the handwriting on the wall. Okay, little wonder he supported what Amaechi was talking about when he refused to back down for Tinubu during the APC primaries, that he had sway and the rest of that. Remember, Amaechi was originally for Buhari, not Tinubu, not Party. Amaechi actually supported Buhari's emergence. In fact, he left the PDP. He left the PDP and joined the APC, supported Buhari. So Amaechi is not really a fan of Tinubu when you look at it, because Amaechi, give it to him, you can call him all sort of names, but when you talk about one of the leaders that speak truth to power, is Amaechi. He once said it that the people have refused to stone them as politicians. That is why they keep doing what they're doing. Yeah. He said it again that the problem of Nigeria is not even the leaders, but his followers. That when they want to take a wrong decision, the people will come out to protest. He said even after the protest, the government will still go ahead to take the wrong decision and will not do anything thereafter. He said it. He said all that. So Soyinka now, just like many people supported Buhari at the beginning and discovered that the man does not have anything to offer, and they changed their mind. At the tail end of his administration, a lot of people were swearing for him, those who voted him. Okay, that's the same thing that's happening here. Okay, Tinubu has gotten to a point where even Wole Soyinka is disappointed. Did you watch Sheila's comment recently? I think it was on London over the weekend. Okay. You understand? He made a statement against Tinubu.
Really?
Yes.
Because he's been a very,
very addictive fan. Yeah, but he has also president. Seen it that this man is hell bent on ensuring that he failed the nation. He's not productive. His government, he has not even governed one day. He's just doing politics, and that is what he understands. Politics all the way. There's nothing about governance that he doesn't know what governance is. So most of his supporters have seen it. Lai Mohammed, Nasir El-Rufai, yeah. Okay, Onokwasa, the famous Onokwasa. These are people who put him there. Okay, if you notice, Femi Fani-Kayode is not talking again. Yes. It was rumored that he was among the list of ambassadors, yeah. Whatever. And after that time, seeing what is going on, because if not for what to eat, Femi Fani-Kayode is a strong opposition against Tinubu, yes. Opponent, serious one. Yes. But because of politics of the stomach, politics of hand to mouth, he caved in and supported him. But now he's also seeing it again that the man whom we all supported, who we think that by now he should have put the economy in shape, he should have at least used his power as a president to curtail some of the excesses of even the lawmakers whom he has control over. He's the one even using them to do more damage to the country. Look at the state of emergency, for example. Look at the way he uses the state of emergency to create palpable fear. governors, such that they are now decamping.
Everyone is.
My state, even after the former governor has stolen 1.3 trillion naira, which he used and frittered it away. The former governor still have assurance of soft landing by defecting from PDP to APC. Look at the governor of Akwa Ibom State and more governors. Look at how Tinubu is the only governor, the only president that have governed for 2 years with wrong policies, failure, and has been endorsed for second term. Something must be wrong. Something must be wrong, and that thing that is wrong is that people are scared that the EFCC will come after them.
But for people like Wole Soyinka, of course, I would love to believe is not scared of any EFCC anything. I do not know. He is a man of words. Do you think a little bit of that knock by him at the 60th birthday of Rotimi Amaechi is a symbolism to stating that he is really not, he is no more a fan?
He's definitely not impressed at all. Remember, Wole Soyinka was in exile with Tinubu. They were in exile together with Tinubu. In fact, they even stayed in Tinubu's house while they were in exile. The June 12th saga, okay, in the UK, for long. Dele Momodu, together with Dele Momodu and some other very active voices there, were all in exile together in the same place in the UK. Okay, so they had a relationship that's beyond that of the public or their public display. They had a relationship. So it's only natural for him to be slow to criticism. That's what I think. But now he's seen it, and he's not really scared of criticizing anyone, except that he may give you the latitude because of the closeness and the relationship. But in the long run, he speaks his mind. He's not scared
but that
of
latitude, don't you think it's a show of complicity?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you have a relationship with someone, it takes time for you to just want to mess it up, even if the person is doing the wrong thing. Yeah, it takes time. You will not be quick to take side and such. You want to give it time. You don't want to ruffle. He doesn't want to rock the boat just like that. But now he's saying that this man, after 4 years, will achieve nothing. He will achieve nothing after 4 years because he has not set in motion anything that will prove or that will change his story as we speak, that will give us anything better than what we're seeing. He has not governed well. He has not scored any mark anywhere. Is it the coastal road, coastal road that they are inaugurating? Or what? Can you name one thing that Tinubu have done since he became president for the past 2 years? One thing that he has done that you can sit back and look at and say, this man tried here. There's nothing. All his achievement is just in his head, in his imagination. You understand? He claimed that he has achieved this, he has achieved that. Even the removal of the subsidy is an achievement. It was in the list of his achievement.
Yeah, because no other president had the courage of doing that.
No other president had the courage of doing that. And
so don't you think that that's an achievement?
No, it's not an achievement. He should have presented to us the impact, the positive impact of that removal. Because what we have is the negative impact, and that couldn't have been success. That cannot be presented as a list of achievement that people's life is worse than it were when you met them. And you're not saying because you remove subsidy is part of an achievement. No, it cannot be an achievement. So, for want of what to list as an achievement, he was listing anything, everything. Okay? Delusional and unfocused. There's nothing on site to show that this man was president for 2 years. Going. Nothing. Okay? So, is in the next 2 years now that he has started politics again, that's not going to perform. This tenure is gone. Okay? This tenure is gone. So, those who want to intercept him and make sure he remains a one tenure president, they are doing the right thing. They are right on track. But whether they have the stamina to muster the strength to fight teeth for teeth, eye for eyeball with INEC, that's the issue. Because
so yes, so but while we wait for that to happen, you know, let's get back to, you know, the voice of, or the voices of dissent. The daughter of General Sani Abacha said she would never forgive Wole Soyinka for all that he had said against their father. The same Wole Soyinka during Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's time said, and I quote, that Goodluck Jonathan left a trail of impunity. Now, given all of this, do you really think we should cut Wole Soyinka some slack? Because the daughter of General Sani Abacha said she admits that the father had done one or two things, but the economy during her father's time is far better than what we see today. But Wole Soyinka is not saying anything yet. And
yeah, that's something we're saying. Wole Soyinka ought to be talking now. This is the time he needs to talk. This is now he needs to call the bluff and really lambast Tinubu for the downward spine of the economy. His policies have never been right. In fact, his appointment is nothing to write home about. Because during Buhari's time, we could pick two ministers that were working, Rotimi Amaechi and what's the name? Shola, or Minister of Interior. Yeah. You could pick two that are working. In this one, I don't think anybody is working apart from the Minister for Interior.
Interior.
Minister for Works and Housing. That's not even for me performance.
But how about the FCT? He said he has, of course, the people in Abuja said that he had done 7 times better than all the FCT ministers put together.
Maybe.
Rural roads everywhere, is really doing a lot.
Maybe, yes. Wike is doing, it's a performer. Okay, just like Rotimi Amaechi. It's a performer. I mean, under Buhari, you could count Rotimi Amaechi was one of the most performing, okay, and all that. But under this one, apart from, what Wike is doing is sectional. So Minister for FCT, just FCT.
Oh, true.
It doesn't
cut across.
No, it's not a central minister.
Nation,
It's not a central minister. A central minister, someone like Umai, you know, Minister of Interior, those ones that are serving the entire nation, not the ones serving Abuja. You understand? So, the lack of Wole Soyinka, I expect him to say more now, okay, as against what he said before. His words carry a lot of, he's very influential. So, he's listened to. So, he should use that to stimulate, you know, whether this president we won't hear him. It's another thing. But he should speak more now, because what is going on now is far, far worse than the things he condemned in the past. Okay, talking about Jonathan, talking about during the Abacha era. Abacha was the one that sanitized the banks. Nigerian banks were going haywire then. He was the one that sanitized the banks. And the economy under him was not bad. Okay, the economy now is nothing to write home about. Okay. Unemployment is an all-time high. Okay. Public health care, education, call it, name it. It's not doing well, and he needs to acknowledge that and find a way. This is his first time. This is the first half of his first time. If he knows what he's doing, he can actually repair or resuscitate, you know, the economy, or make a difference. He can do that if he knows what to do.
All right, so let's take a look at other notable world critic that equally had done similar to what Wole Soyinka is doing. Now we have Michiko Kakatani, the former New York Times literally a critic, was known for her sharp review of certain authors. However, some critics argue that she exhibited leniency towards authors, suggesting potential bias in her evaluation. Barrister Vansufeli, you are equally, if possible, in that league of critics who have really called what it is. You call a spade, especially when you take a look at your state, Delta State. Lots of people have joined the bandwagon of standing on the mandate. You have not. My question is, what do you think happens in the minds of people who are dogged, who are strong-willed about something and stick to it? What do you think is that thing that would make them possibly cave?
Well, people with their temperaments. I mean, if you stand for what is right, if your value system, aligns with public spiritedness, okay, you would do it with your full chest. I, for example, I don't need any resources from Delta State. I don't need their money. I don't need their appointment. I don't need anything from them. Okay, ordinarily I should just keep quiet. I'm not. But you see, to keep quiet in the face of evil by Martin Luther King, to keep quiet in the face of evil will be contributing to evil. Okay, so at every point in time where the wrong things are done, we should be able to condemn what is wrong. Because these leaders, they know that what they are doing is wrong. Okay? So, people can cave in. There are people whom they will call. I mean, I've worked with so many right activists who, in the long run, were called and were given money to support the government that was doing nothing. And they took the money. And they changed, they started speaking for the government. I've seen it repeatedly, okay? But their conscience in the long run still judge them, okay? Some of them, when they can't bear it anymore, they go back to say the truth, okay? So, people can be bought, people can cave in at any time, people can change their minds, collecting gratification and change course. Nobody's looking at them. Nobody will know. Okay, but they say integrity is what you do even when no one is looking at you. So people are different. Was it not in the Holy Read that somebody came to meet Peter and said that this power that you are displaying, how much will it cost me if I want to pay? Yes. And Peter looked at him and said, your money perish with thee. So people will always, you can't, you cannot exfoliate people who are in the system for the wrong reason. You will always find them in every sphere of life. Okay, they will cave in at any slightest opportunity. So that's a debate that is tied around difference in the human person. It's tied around the difference in human person. Is man's proclivity to cheat, to undercut, to take a shortcut. That is the prognosis of man. But you also have those who, though they have nothing, they will not compromise their soul, their integrity, or their vision for anything. No matter how stupendously rich you are, or no matter what you offer, they will not take it and soil their soul. So that difference will always exist. Even though it's difficult in Nigeria and Africa to be offered an alternative to escape poverty, and you choose to hold on to your thought. That is the same thing the politicians apply during vote buying and the rest of that. People can change their mind for as low as 10,000 naira, and even come on air to complain that they promised them 20 and they gave them 10,000. People will do things that will surprise you. You understand? They don't care. They have no vision. They have no integrity. What is even integrity in the face of hunger, according to them, and the rest of that? So, but I do not think that is how we should live. We cannot change Nigeria that way. We cannot change Nigeria by compromise.
But can people go overboard? Can people go overboard? A very textbook case is Showore, for example. People have labeled him as an activist, a unionist who is not good enough to be a leader, because some of the things he criticizes are really not pragmatic. He says a revolution, and if you get to know what revolution is, not democracy. So with such kind of critic, where do you base them? Because what they are just spoilers.
No. Every society have the likes of Shore. Every society must produce revolutionaries. Every society have them.
But is it necessary?
It's necessary. It's necessary. Yes, it's necessary to challenge the status quo. They don't need to succeed, but the leaders must develop palpable fear by their presence. It's a way of checkmating leadership in the long run. Even in the days of the Bible, the prophets of those days that look like the normal prophet that will carry stick and have dread with white regalia, the likes of Elijah, Elisha will go to the king and say, you know what, by this your policy, it will not rain for 3 years. And they will go under the cave. And the king will send people to go after them. And it will not rain, really, because God will honor his words. It will not rain for 3 days, and it didn't rain.
So could they be likened as the
revolutionists? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Because you know why? Because the economy was agro-based then. It was agro-based. So when it fails to rain, it affects the king. It affects the entire country. The likes of Elijah and what Shore is doing is not different from what Elijah, Elisha, and some of the prophets did. The most radical of them did, in those days. So every generation we give birth to its own radicalists. Okay, don't expect that Shore should act like any other politician or any other activist or any other. He's given to that style, not today. From when he was younger in the University of Lagos as a child student, he's been doing that. It's not today that's going to leave that. He was incarcerated, kept away from his family for 5 years. It's not going to leave that. That is his nature. Government will have to cope with it, look for a way to live side by side with what he is as an entity. Government have no option, because people like that exist in every society. The likes of Malame in South Africa,
yes.
When you go down history, other African countries, even the current president of Rwanda was a rebel, that fought against the authority. Okay, so every space, every human society, even in villages, there are people whose own is they will not agree whether the policy is right or wrong. It does not matter how the policy is. They will suspect it, they will condemn it, they will tell you that this government has paid. You understand? So it's not about whether, Shore, for example, it doesn't matter whether federal government policy is right or wrong.
So even if everybody's doing fine,
it doesn't matter. So anything government does, whether it's right or wrong, it's condemnable. It doesn't matter. So society gives birth to those kind of people for a reason. Nature has a way of rebasing itself, producing nuisance, producing the good, the bad, and the ugly, to coexist, to spice up existence.
But at the end of the day, Minister, yes, at the end of the day, as much as we appreciate all of this, at the end of the day, the world would prefer a Martin Luther King than a Malcolm X. Don't you think so?
Yeah, because Martin Luther King...
because they existed both at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
Struggle for the same thing, but different perspectives.
Different perspectives. Yes. Martin Luther King was more civil, focused. His demands were quite, even though unrealistic.
Really?
Yes, that demand was unrealistic.
I have a dream.
No, it was unrealistic at the time. Even till today, that's what I'm saying, it's unrealistic. Because this ideology of white supremacy, till today, there's still racism even in Atlanta, Georgia, where Martin Luther King was born. That is why I'm based in the US. You still see the racism once in a while. You find it. So that's why I say it's unrealistic. But he pushed it to a point where so many strong walls collapsed. So many strong... He succeeded largely by that campaign. And that was even made it possible for Obama to become president. And then black people becoming governors across the US and the rest of the... Before now, or before his time, they were only relegated to rap music. And in that rap music, what they are doing there is expressing their frustration in a country that they are trapped in. They don't know their identity. They don't know where they are going to. They don't know where they are coming from. It's a difficult way to live. So they are inspired by that very uneasy life. And so they wrote poetry, they wrote rap music, sang about it, did so much about it. You understand? But when you look at it, you place it side by side to... I mean, Rosa Parks was the one who refused to... Before then, once a white man gets into the train, you as a black man will stand up for him to sit down. She refused. You understand? The revolution started from there. Martin Luther King, born to a family, raised by a Baptist pastor father, became a Baptist preacher, in the Ebenezer First Baptist Church in Autumn Urban, Atlanta, Georgia. Started his own, having learned from the first Martin Luther King, because he's actually the junior.
Okay.
The Martin Luther King that pulled out from the church then and created the Methodist movement, the Methodist Church, and all that. Where he, and having learned from there, and having gone to India to learn from Mahatma Gandhi, the stories of Mahatma Gandhi and the rest of that, and developed this
protest with no violence.
Yes, civil rights movement. Without violence, sending a message, was able to, because at the time their problem was not survival per se.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, their problem was inclusion.
Yes.
Inclusion, it was abstract, it was emotional. Okay, so his movement to gain credibility via providence.
Now just oppose it with that of Malcolm X.
Yeah, no, Malcolm X, Malcolm X was much more inciting violence because he's extreme, and he doesn't mind if people take arms. And his campaign was not violent free, even though he didn't hide it. Okay, even though he made a lot of impact, but it was very insightful. That was why he was stopped early. Okay, he didn't really. He wanted it because during his own era, there was a lot of physical conflict between the blacks and the whites, and so many white people were killed. So many white, in fact, America is the way it is today by the blood of so many persons, whom, were, and the rest of that. So many things that happened. So that is why, if you look at Martin Luther King, is much more of the refined version of the movement to eliminate discrimination. In the Have a Dream speech, you can see that it was so powerful that it was named the third best speech in the world. After Jesus' Sermon on the Mount is Martin Luther King. For speech analysts who want to research, is the third most impactful speech in the world. Okay, and we've seen how the blacks in the US have, used this influence to rise to any level. What they couldn't do before, they could do. And after his death, he became more powerful, because even the white started studying how he took this whole thing, took them like a storm, and he became a figure known all over the world. Today, there's a Martin Luther King Day. This year we celebrated it, I think, was it in February? Either February or March, that I was in the US on the day, and I knew how impactful that day is. Martin Luther King Day is a public holiday, nobody opens.
So do you think Nigerians would or could welcome a Wole Soyinka Day anytime in the future?
Wole Soyinka has impacted this country in ways that it is not people who really will admire Soyinka are not people who are widespread. There are people who possibly have studied, or he has taught, or those who have studied who, through the process of growth, education-wise, you've read his book, you are a disciple of his by virtue of his intellectual work. You can hardly see anyone who have gone through the works of Soyinka that will not fall in love with his style of writing, especially the Jero's metamorphosis that gave him the Nobel Prize, the trial of Jero. For those who are keen to knowledge, there's a tendency you will like him.
Okay.
But for those who are maybe not in that line, science people, those who only interact with him when he's speaking on public issues, will most likely not like him because he's a very deep critic. The person you want him to criticize may not be the person he's criticizing. And that is why a lot of people are saying that he has changed.
Yes.
Because, I mean, during the Biafra War, he supported the Igbos. In fact, that was what led to his incarceration.
Yes,
when
27 months.
Yes, when he wrote The Man Died. Yeah. It was Biafra related.
Yes.
So you see, he's a detribalized person. He's detribalized. That's people. Some people will like him because he's detribalized. Some people will, in fact, the hate that is coming is coming in the later days of his life. When he was much more younger, he was a close friend of Chinua Achebe, very close. I have the interview they both did in 1961, both of them. They were just youths then, on literature. There's a guy from Ghana that interviewed, both of them.
I've watched it.
That interviewed both of them. And you could see the level of their thoughts at that time as young boys, you know, and they grew up, they were friends, they were in the same sphere of endeavor and the rest of that. He's detribalized. But today, people are saying he has changed.
Is it because we have a newest form of thinkers, the Gen Alphas and all of that, who might not have a clearer understanding of the sacrifice he has put in place?
The Gen Zs and the Alpha generation will not really know him. They will not really know him, except for those that study literature. Those ones will not really know him. Even the ones studying literature, his books are not, I don't think they are even in text any longer as much as it used to be in the past. So they may not know him. They will need to do quick search. And that's why we must teach history. We must keep teaching Nigerian history. The Civil War, for example, many Gen Z don't know the story of the Civil War. Even some adults don't know the story of the Civil War, what led to it, the remote causes and the immediate causes and the aftermath, and what the government did after it. Many people don't know it. Many people don't know about the first military coup that took place in 1966. You know, they don't know it. You know, the change of government from the First Republic to the Second Republic to the Third Republic that was outlived. The Third Republic was the shortest. That was outlived, and we now had the Fourth Republic. Now, many don't know times. Many don't know times, even within their own country, let alone globally. If you are talking about the classical era, some people don't know it, the Restoration Age, the Victorian Age, the Renaissance, the laissez-faire, the Industrial Revolution, and now the Information Age. Many people don't know. So these are level of thoughts that whether you are a scientist, you are in academia, you are a Gen Z, you are an Alpha generation, you need to read the history of the world. You need to read the history of the world, the Songhai Empire, history of Africa, the fall of empires, and the rest of that. People should go read, because there's no way you can be engaged in public discourse if you don't know history, you don't know literature, you don't know, I mean, where the world is coming from. So what are you going to say about where the world is going to? You can't. You can't. It's not even taught in schools. It's because it's not taught in schools effectively. That's why you should know it. That is why there's this GST in schools, in university. People don't take it serious. They just want to pass exam. You know, that GST 101, you know, and some other elective courses at that 100, there's a lot about these things. from the Marxists to the early philosophers, and the rest of them. When you put all that together, that's why the universities from the word universal knowledge, okay, you are being groomed to become an entity of your own, plus the extra effort you add to what you are taught. That's what makes you. So let's read history very well. Let's make input, and when we talk, we'll know exactly what we're saying. The Wole Soyinka you're looking at today is not just, it's not a foolish man as many people. It couldn't have been a foolish man. You cannot be foolish and win Nobel Prize. It's not possible. In 1986, the first African to win Nobel Prize, you know, and had long won other prizes, you know, and he won the Nobel Prize with the trial of Rajero. If you have not read the trial of Rajero, go and read the trial of Rajero and come back and tell me how stupid Wole Soyinka is. It's not possible. So if you don't like him, you don't like him because you don't know him. People who know him cannot know him and dislike him. It's not possible. That's what I think.
All right. We equally think the same way. It's just that we are living in an interesting time, you know, where you know, lots of things get lots of things get missing, you know, very, very soon by people who are living with it, unfortunately. But of course, Wole Soyinka still remains an icon, still remains a legend to Nigerians and to Nigeria as a country, and which is a very good reason for us to take him seriously, and if possible, cut him some slack if he does or says things that we might not be, you know, comfortable with. We just have to leave it at this particular point and say thank you to you for making this a date. Thank you so very much, Barrister Francis.